Law 10. The Law of Envy. Beware the fragile ego. Every time a friend succeeds, I die a little. Gore Vidal. Envy is the trickiest and most elusive of all human emotions. To decode envy, you must become a master of human nature. You need to be able to distinguish passive envy from active envy before you can understand its nuances. We all suffer from envy from time to time, as we unconsciously observe the people around us and feel that they may have more in life than ourselves. The need to compare may motivate some of us to excel. For some, however, there are more extreme forms of envy. If people are actively trying to sabotage your projects, your career, or your relationships, then you're dealing with a dangerous, envious person. Signs of envy. It is difficult to detect subtle signs of envy, but if you pay attention, you can detect them. Micro-expressions. It is the eyes that are most associated with envy. It's often the first impression that's the most accurate, so you should pay more attention to it. The envier will momentarily look at you with disdain and hostility. Sometimes the look is only noticeable by accident, but if you notice such looks in your first encounter with someone and they happen more than once, a dangerous envious person could be lurking into your life. The Schopenhauer method for eliciting envy. Tell suspected enviers some good news about yourself, a promotion, a new and exciting love interest. You will notice a very quick expression of disappointment. Their tone of voice as they congratulate you will betray some tension and strain. Equally, tell them some misfortune of yours and notice the uncontrollable micro-expression of joy in your pain, what is commonly known as Schadenfreude. Poisonous praise. Beware of people who give you confusing and paradoxical praise. They will find ways to praise you, but mix the praise with sarcasm and offhand remarks which are designed to make you feel uncomfortable and make you doubt your abilities. Backbiting. Gossip often serves as a cover for envy, a means of venting frustration through sharing malicious rumors and stories. If you happen to hear of a negative story spread about you, that should have enough impact to raise your awareness. A sign of active envy could be the fact that your friend feels the need to vent his or her underlying hostility to a third party rather than keep it to themselves. Push and pull. If people are envious of you, the people with the closest proximity who know all your secrets and weaknesses are often in the best position to act upon this envy. Enviers often use friendship and intimacy as the best way to wound the people they envy. Envier types. Here are 5 common varieties of envious people, how they disguise themselves and how they attack. The leveler. Levelers are always on the lookout for injustice and unfairness in the world. Despite their ability to put others down, they do not easily take a joke at their own expense. It is their goal to bring everyone down to their level of mediocrity. Levelers cannot identify or value excellence in anyone. Be aware of these people, especially in the workplace. Such individuals will try to make you feel guilty for being ambitious, to try and cover up their own ambitions to succeed. Levelers are people who want to bring you down when they see you rise above them. The self-entitled slacker. People today rightfully feel entitled to success and a good life, but they recognize that they will need to sacrifice their time and work hard. Self-entitled slackers believe that they are entitled to success and the finer things in life. These people are plagued by narcissism and insecure about their own abilities to get what they want. Keep an eye out for those who prefer to maintain their positions through charisma rather than by putting in the hard work to get things done. The status fiend. Humans are very sensitive to their rank and position within social groups. Status for some people, however, is more than a way to measure social position. It is the most important factor in determining how valuable they perceive themselves to be. Status fiends will ask you about your income, whether you own your home, and what type of neighborhood you live in. It is common for such types to demonstrate their status in an opposite direction, portraying themselves to be monk-like, but in reality they secretly yearn for the luxury they cannot afford. When you're around this type of envier, try to hide or at least downplay anything that might trigger envy. The attacher. These types are attracted to the successful or powerful, not in admiration but out of envy. They will do anything they can to make themselves useful, but they lack their own purpose and they want to get some of that attention and success the high achiever is getting, without all the hard work. They hate the fact that this person is getting more than them. The insecure master. For some people, having a high position increases their insecurities. They fear subordinates who may possess more talent than them with an envious gaze. They may fire people for strange reasons or discredit your outstanding projects. Keep an eye out for signs of insecurity or envy among those above you. Envy triggers. While certain personality types tend to be more prone to envy than others, you should be aware that certain situations can cause envy in just about anyone. Older people and people whose professions are fading tend to have a fragile ego and can easily feel envious of others. When a woman achieves high levels of success, other women and men feel inadequate, leading to jealousy and animosity instead of appreciation. In order to deflect envy, it becomes even more important for successful women to play the humble card. The best way to deal with an envy attack is to control your emotions. As a result of social media, envy is more common today than ever before. We all have a low level of envy within us, which can be exacerbated by reading something or seeing something that makes us feel insecure. Beyond envy. Envy thrives in environments where people see each other every day, whether they are colleagues in a corporation, family members, neighbors, or peers in any type of group. Considering that our brains cannot stop comparing, we should redirect this mechanism into something constructive and creative. Human greatness is to be admired. Admiration is the opposite of envy. We acknowledge people's accomplishments, celebrate them without feeling insecure. Our species' potential is to be celebrated when we recognize someone's greatness. Gratitude is the best antidote to envy. Engage in downward comparisons. We often compare ourselves with people above us and we become envious. Instead of always looking upwards, look downwards from time to time. Compare yourself to people who are lower than you socioeconomically, not in a superior manner, but in a way that gives you gratitude for the things that you do have in your life that so many others do not. Schadenfreude, the experience of gaining pleasure from another person's suffering, is closely related to envy. Instead, follow what Friedrich Nietzsche called Mitfreude, which means joying with. Instead of simply congratulating someone on their success, you should instead attempt to actively feel their joy. Try to feel what they must be feeling in their moment of success. Practicing Mitfreude increases your ability to feel this emotion in relation to your own experiences. Lore 11, the Lore of Grandiosity. Know your limits. The gods are merciless with those who fly too high on the wings of grandiosity, and they will make you pay the price. Throughout history, humans have had a deep need to consider themselves important. We get a little bit of success and we let it go straight to our heads. We feel superior to others. We amplify our successes and we take all the credit. We downplay any role that luck or the contributions of others may have played in our success. As soon as the perception of our greatness and brilliance differs too much from reality, we become grandiose. Seek out signs of excessive grandiosity in others and in yourself. Grandiosity has become exponentially more prominent today as a result of the following factors. The number of people who receive pampering attention as a child is greater now than ever before. A growing number of people are showing little or no respect for authority or experts in general. And social media is amplifying grandiosity. We allow the attention of others to inflate our egos, and social media gives us almost limitless capabilities to expand our presence and to create the illusion that we can attract thousands or even millions of adoring followers to us. More than anything, it is social media that spreads the grandiosity virus. The grandiose leader. It is possible for people with high levels of grandiosity to attain positions of power if they also possess some talent and assertive energy. The grandiose leader distorts reality to fit their perceived greatness. Here are 6 common illusions grandiose leaders like to create. Greatness is my destiny. It is common for grandiose leaders to portray themselves as destined for greatness. The stories they tell about their childhood and youth demonstrate their uniqueness, as if fate had chosen them. I'm the common man or woman. Public figures must present themselves to the public as representatives of the average citizen. A grandiose leader's trick is to put emphasis on their cultural tastes and not the class that they were raised in. I will be your savior. In times of crisis and trouble, these types rise to power. These individuals will be the ones to deliver the people from the difficulties they are experiencing. They need to make large yet vague promises to do this. Messages must be simple to understand yet stir the emotions. When followers become part of the cult, they are doubly mesmerized and ready to excuse any faults of the leader. I am able to rewrite the rules. Humans have a secret desire to do away with the conventions and rules in place in every field, and to be empowered just by following their intuitions. Secretly, we are excited and wish to believe grandiose leaders when they proclaim to have such powers. Everything I touch turns to gold. In order to create the legend that they have never failed, those with grandiose tendencies will exaggerate their success. If they had setbacks or failures in their career, other people were always to blame. I'm invulnerable. The grandiose leader likes to take risks, but this boldness is often reckless and mismanaged. In essence, their decisions are influenced not by rational considerations, but by the need for fame and attention, and the reality eventually catches up with them. Practical grandiosity. Grandiosity is a form of primal energy we all possess. Here are 5 basic principles that are essential for redirecting this energy and attaining a high level of fulfillment. Be honest with yourself about your grandiose desires. You must be honest with yourself and admit that we all want to feel important and noticed by others. Only then can you channel your energy into something useful and productive. Focus your energy. Avoid scatterbrained thinking and moving from one idea to another. Don't try to solve too many problems at once and break your goals into smaller steps. Your goals should be attainable in a matter of months and not years. Keep in touch with reality. Let your imagination run free, but don't expect your ideas to be perfect. You'll be able to create something practical, powerful, and realistic by listening to criticism and maintaining an ongoing dialogue between your imagination and reality, which is your feedback. Make sure to challenge yourself according to your abilities. Continuously be seeking challenges just above your current skill level. Attempting projects below or at your ability level will make you easily bored and you will lose focus. Don't hold back your grandiose energy. Think of your energy as a wild animal that needs to roam free now and then, or it will go mad from restlessness. Try learning a new skill in a different field, or start that business that you once considered as unattainable or a distraction. Law 12, the law of gender rigidity. Reconnect to the masculine or feminine within you. Do not be afraid to bring out the more sensitive or ambitious sides to your character. These repressed parts of you are yearning to be let out. We all have a mixture of masculine and feminine qualities which are due to our genetics, but also the influence of the parent of the opposite sex. But in order to play the gender role expected of us by society, we tend to repress some of these qualities, and we lose important dimensions of our character. You need to look within yourself and discover those traits that are repressed and underdeveloped. Psychologist Carl Jung identifies these different dimensions of our character as the anima, which is the unconscious feminine part of a male, and the animus, the unconscious masculine part of a female. When we fall in love, we become victims of emotions that we cannot control. We make decisions about partners we cannot rationally explain, and our bad choices of partners are often repeated over time, as if we are driven by some demon deep within ourselves. It is common for relationships to fall apart due to miscommunications on both sides, and without knowing the reasons for the breakdown, we will go through the exact same process with the next person. Gender projection types. The variation of gender projections are infinite, but here are the 6 most common types. As we go through these projections, try to recognize any tendencies towards one of these forms of projection within yourself. Furthermore, watch out for how people will project their desires and fantasies onto you. The Devilish Romantic. The woman who is usually drawn to a man who is older and successful and who can lavish her with attention and gifts. In order to attract his attention, she decides to seduce him. After time, however, she realizes that his masculine, powerful, and romantic qualities fall short of what she imagined. The attention she gets is not sufficient or does not last long enough. She is powerless to change him, and he will not change, so he walks away from her. A woman in this scenario has become trapped by the attention paid to her by her father in early childhood. It becomes her lifelong goal to reclaim that attention and the power that came with it. To attract this attention that they desire, they have to constantly be flirtatious and charming. The elusive woman of perfection. The man who thinks he has found the perfect woman. Although he hasn't had many encounters with the woman in question, he can imagine all kinds of positive encounters with her in the future. Despite his best efforts, he will quickly become disenchanted. Her character is not what he thought it would be. She deceived him. He then proceeds to project his fantasies onto the next woman. Often men susceptible to this projection grew up without a supportive mother. A mother of this sort might have expected her son to give her the attention and support that she was lacking from her husband. And due to this role reversal, the boy who becomes a man feels emptiness inside and a need to fill the attention that he didn't receive in childhood. The lovable rebel. The woman who is attracted to men that have a disdain for authority. This man, unlike the devilish romantic, is usually young and unsuccessful. Moreover, he tends to be outside her usual circle of friends. Even though the relationship breaks apart, the fantasy remains intact. Women with this projection often have a distant and strict father who is strong and patriarchal. As a girl, she dreamed of being independent and assertive, but was restricted to following her father's orders and playing the role of the obedient daughter. The fallen woman. The man who is attracted to the opposite of what he used to be, good, obedient, and trustworthy. This type of man often had a strong mother figure as a child, and subconsciously they gravitate towards women who are imperfect, bad, or from different cultures and/or social classes. His goal is to rescue her, but over time he realizes she isn't what he had expected. These men have a passive and masochistic anima, and they are often merely used as pawns by these women. The superior man. The woman who is drawn to the superior man. His confidence and power radiate through him. He could be a successful businessman or a professor. Among women, this type of projection is very common and is due to feelings of inferiority. Being unable to develop her own confidence or strength, she tends to search for these traits in men and exaggerate their appearance in her imagination. She often attracts men who are attracted to younger women, whom they can dominate. The professor seducing the student scenario. Typically, these men fail to be as clever or as brilliant as she imagined, so the woman either leaves disappointed or gets stuck with her low self-esteem and bends to his manipulations. She should cultivate genuine self-confidence so that she can evaluate the value and character of the men she meets before being misguided. The woman to worship him. The man who seeks a woman who will worship him. His life is hard, but he is driven and ambitious. His life seems to be lacking something. A woman comes along who is warm, attentive, and engaging to him. When he pursues certain types of women, he subtly positions them to play the mother role so they can support, adore, and enhance his ego. Generally, this male projection stems from his relationship with his mother, who adored him and lavished him with attention. She has empowered the boy, and he becomes addicted to that kind of attention. He seeks and expects that same attention from the women he meets. This man should see the patterns of these relationships throughout his life. He must be able to take care of himself. Let me know in the comments below if you guys could relate to any of these projection types. The original man or woman. When we were children, our sense of self was rather fluid. During our youth, however, we needed to establish a social self, one that was cohesive and would allow us to fit in. To achieve this, our free spirit had to be trimmed and tightened. And this tightening was largely driven by gender roles. To feel and present a more consistent self, we had to suppress our masculine or feminine qualities. If you're interested in finding a better balance, pause the video now and see how masculine and feminine traits tend to differ from each other. Do not play the expected gender role, but rather create one that suits you. Law 13, the Law of Aimlessness. advance with a sense of purpose. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche. As opposed to animals who can use their instincts to steer clear of danger, humans must rely on their own judgments. As long as we follow our instincts moment by moment, we will wander aimlessly, which will lead us to dead ends. Developing a sense of purpose, discovering our calling in life, and using that knowledge to guide us in our decisions will prevent such a fate. We can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, our tastes, and our preferences. When we lack purpose, we become increasingly insecure. When we have a sense of purpose, we are less likely to suffer from depression. It is best to avoid hiring or working with people who are motivated by a false purpose, as their unproductive energy will tend to drag you down. If you surround yourself with people who have a strong purpose, they will pull you upward. Operating with a high sense of purpose is a force multiplier. The many sides of your character are channeled into this purpose, giving you more sustained energy. Strategies for developing a high sense of purpose. In developing a sense of purpose, you will encounter many challenges. Others may distract you from finding your true direction by instilling doubt in your heart. You can overcome these obstacles by using the following 5 strategies. Often the earliest signs of your true calling can be located in the earliest years of your life. Consider moments in your life when you felt natural and at ease doing certain tasks or activities, as if you were running with the wind at your back. When you pursue your purpose, some people will criticize you along the way. Some may be helpful, but others may just come from envy. Take their negative opinions and judgments of you as motivation and fuel for your purpose. Associating with people who have a strong sense of purpose will allow you to absorb their purposeful energy. Create a ladder of descending goals. If you set long-term goals, you will gain incredible clarity and resolve. However, if you look at all the steps necessary to reach them from your current position, they are likely to generate anxiety. If you want to manage such anxiety, you should have a ladder of smaller goals extending down from the present to the future. Finally, dedicate uninterrupted time with your work. Find states of flow and focus on the work and not the recognition or the reward. The lure of false purposes. We are all aware of how insignificant we are in the universe with billions of others. In order to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves, we need to feel larger than ourselves. As human nature is, however, many people are searching for meaning and a sense of transcendence on the cheapest and easiest terms possible. Throughout history, without a purpose, humans have been attracted to 5 common types of false purposes. The pursuit of pleasure. We often think of work as just a boring necessity of life. Ultimately, we are motivated by avoiding pain and finding as much pleasure as possible outside of work. Our pursuit of pleasure takes many different forms, such as sexual activities, recreational stimulants, and other forms of entertainment. By operating with a sense of purpose, we understand the importance of placing limits on ourselves, rather than overstimulation of the senses. Causes and cults. As human beings, we have a deep desire to believe in something, and with a lack of unifying beliefs, cults fill the void. Groups whose disciples are vague in their objectives should be viewed with caution, as their group is more than likely just about releasing emotions. Money and success. A person's pursuit of money and success often motivates and focuses them. Despite this, many of the richest and most successful people were never initially driven by money. Money and success will naturally flow to you if you focus on your goals and maintain a high sense of purpose. Attention. As a way to feel more important, people have always desired fame and attention. The false sense of purpose, however, has been greatly democratized with the help of social media. By cultivating a strong sense of purpose and creating projects which are naturally appealing, we'll have a much better chance of attracting attention. Cynicism. Man would rather have the void as purpose than be void of purpose. Friedrich Nietzsche. Cynicism, the conviction that existence is meaningless, has the effect of leading to the void as purpose. Politics and old beliefs all contribute to this type of fake purpose, which is growing in popularity nowadays. Law 14. The law of conformity. Resist the downward pull of the group. When people are free to do as they please, they usually imitate each other. Eric Hoffer. The social personality is the different person that we become when we are operating in groups of people. It is a side to our character that we are rarely even aware of. In a group, we unconsciously imitate what others say and do. There is no positive or negative side to the social force. It is simply an aspect of our human nature. The individual effect. The desire to fit in. In order to feel like we belong or fit in with a group, we tend to alter our appearance or adopt its ideas, beliefs, and values. The need to perform. We become actors in the group, guiding what we say and do so that the other team members accept us as loyal members of the team. Emotional contagion. We experience the contagiousness of emotions through the group. The group may compel you to act in ways that you would otherwise not if you were alone. Hypercertainty. In the group, we are driven to make urgent decisions and support them. This gives us a sense of certainty that makes us more open to taking risks. You should never give up your ability to doubt, reflect, or consider the other options that differ from the group. The larger the group and the more established the culture over time, the more likely it will control you than the other way around. Group dynamics. You must study the following dynamics in the groups in which you belong. Group culture. Groups carry some dynamic of culture, from countries with long-standing traditions all the way down to a company or even an office. An ideal state will always be the center of the group's culture and spirit. Group rules and codes. The distressing effect of disorder and anarchy are experienced by all groups. Therefore, standard rules and how to conduct oneself quickly emerge and are established. They are not written down, but they are implied by all group members. The group court. In any chimpanzee colony, you will observe an alpha male and other chimpanzees adapting their behavior with him, following, imitating, and trying to strengthen their bonds with the alpha. Essentially, this is the pre-human version of the court, or the social dynamic. Despite the difference in appearance, the behavior and strategies of the courtiers continues to be very similar. The group enemy. In the groups you belong to, you will almost certainly find some sort of enemy or villain to fight, be it human or otherwise. Group factions. As a group becomes large enough, individuals start to form factions. A faction, left unchecked, can grow so powerful it takes control of the leaders. By creating an enthusiastic and unifying environment in the group, factions become less desirable, which tightens the whole group. The court and the courtiers. In any group dynamic, there will be a struggle for power. There will be some form of group court, with an alpha leader at the top and subordinate leaders with whom people try to get close to. Understanding the court's dynamics is crucial. Be able to identify the types of courtiers, such as the intriguer, who appears loyal to the group, but is secretly accumulating their own power. The stirrer, who hides their envy to cause conflict within the group, or the gatekeeper, who uses their position to control the flow of information and isolate the leader. The reality group. Here are 5 strategies if you want to create a healthy group dynamic. Instill a collective sense of purpose. You must capture and channel that social force that compels people to belong and fit in. This can't be a vague purpose, it must be clearly stated and publicized. Assemble the right team of lieutenants. Your fear of delegating authority will be your biggest obstacle. Developing a team of lieutenants with the skills that you lack must be the very first thing that you do. Let information and ideas flow freely. Communication is the lifeblood of any group. Encourage open discussion to build the members' trust. Infect the group with productive emotions. You should radiate a sense of determination that permeates the group. In the face of setbacks, you are the one that keeps pressing forward and solving problems. Forge a battle-tested group. When faced with a crisis, you want to find out how tough a person is from the inside. Test the people in your team with some relatively challenging tasks and shorter deadlines than usual, and see how they respond under pressure. Law 15. The Law of Fickleness. Make them want to follow you. In the world today, we humans have become more self-absorbed, more tribal, and tenacious in holding on to our narrow agendas. We have become consumed by the barrage of information inundating us. We are even more fickle when it comes to leaders. Despite the fact that leadership styles change with the times, one thing remains the same. People are always ambivalent about those in power. Watch the news to see how easily leaders can lose trust from their followers, and how their reputation is shaped by their latest success or failure. Strategies for establishing authority. Authority is the delicate art of creating the appearance of power, legitimacy, and fairness, while getting people to identify with you as a leader who is in their service. Having authority means people follow you willingly. They listen to your advice and follow your words. In your efforts to overcome people's natural ambivalence and resistance, you must continuously seek ways to mobilize their willpower. These strategies aim to accomplish just that. Put all of them to use. Authenticity. Find your authority style. The authority you create must flow naturally from your character and specific strengths. Think of certain archetypes of authority from our culture. One of the archetypes will best suit you. The deliverer. The person who delivers people from evil. Think Moses or Martin Luther King Jr. The founder. They establish a new order in business or politics that diverges from the status quo. The visionary artist. They defy the norms. Think Picasso. The healer. The one who can unify people. The teacher. The person who can initiate action and get people to learn from their mistakes. Focus outwardly. The attitude. Humans are selfish by nature, spending most of our time focusing on our emotions, our struggles, and our fantasies. Focus on how you can serve others, become a good listener, and see your position of leadership as a responsibility and not a privilege. The vision. Cultivate the third eye. Individuals caught up in the moment are prone to overreact, panic, and see only a limited part of the situation in front of them. Develop your long-term vision and don't get caught up in the day-to-day drama or small, insignificant events. The tone. Lead from the front. As a leader, you must show everyone you work as hard, if not harder, than they do. Setting the right tone is essential. To gain your approval, the members will want to rise up to your level. Stir conflicting emotions, the aura. People tend to be too predictable. In order to fit in and feel like part of the group, they adopt a persona that they think is pleasing and consistent with the group. As a leader, it is important to establish an aura of mystery. Mixing signals and displaying qualities that seem inconsistent causes people to think about you and pause before they try to categorize you. Never appear to take, always to give. The act of taking something away from someone they assume they own, be it time, rights, or money, can create a sense of insecurity and will call into question your authority. Always be seen to give and never take from the group. Rejuvenate your authority, adaptability. The newer generations will inevitably become immune to your charm and aura. Therefore, your style of leadership needs to adapt to the moods and epochs of the time. Don't let your leadership style remain stuck in its ways. Law 16. The Law of Aggression. See the hostility behind the friendly facade. Men are not gentle, friendly creatures wishing for love, who simply defend themselves if attacked. A powerful desire for aggression has to be reckoned was part of their endowment. Sigmund Freud. On the surface, people around you appear polite and civil, but underneath the mask, we all have an aggressive side in our DNA. People have acted violently and aggressively in the past and present, but we dislike to think of ourselves as someone who can act in that same manner. Human nature is deeply misunderstood in this way. Our species is wired for aggression, and it is latent in every human. Aggression can be used for good, however, it can also lead to antisocial behavior and violence. Despite some individuals clearly being more aggressive than others, we are all capable of slipping towards the negative side of aggression. Human aggression is a continuum, and we all exist somewhere on the spectrum. The source of human aggression. Human aggression stems from an underlying insecurity as opposed to simply an impulse to hurt or take from others. Only humans are able to grasp their own mortality. At any moment we could lose our jobs or be separated from our partners, which can make us feel frustrated and helpless. People who are chronically aggressive, on the other hand, are more likely to feel the helplessness and frustration we might feel on occasion. These individuals experience chronic insecurity and fragility and work incredibly hard to hide this by overpowering and controlling others. If you are around a chronic aggressor, you must understand this behavior is stemming from an underlying insecurity, a deep wound, which almost always comes from early childhood. We also have to realize that aggressors see others as objects to control. 2 myths to dispel. The first myth says that humans used to live in harmony with nature and with each other. But anthropologists have proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that pre-civilization warfare was every bit as murderous and brutal as anything we are experiencing today. There was little peace between us. The second myth claims that human beings may have by and large been violent and aggressive in the past, but we have evolved since then to become more compassionate, enlightened, and led by our better angels. Still, the signs of human aggression persist as they did in the past. Present-day warfare, genocide, and degradation of the environment paint a different picture from this myth. Redirect your aggressive energy. There are usually 3 main ways in which aggressive energy is expended. 1, you can channel this energy into your work, controlled aggression. 2, you can channel it towards others through your behavior, passive aggression. Or 3, it can be turned inward in the form of self-loathing, which directs our anger and aggression at our own shortcomings. How do you usually handle this energy? Observe how you respond to frustration and uncertainty as a way to judge yourself. Are you prone to lash out, become angry, and do things that you later regret? Or do you internalize the anger and grow depressed? Passive aggression, its strategies and how to counter them. Our default setting is to avoid direct confrontations and appear sociable and polite. However, it is not always possible to get what we want without making an effort to assert ourselves. This is called passive aggression. While passive aggression is sometimes necessary in order to not be walked over by others, some people have a chronic passive aggression problem. Here are some strategies that passive aggressors often use. The subtle superiority strategy. The person who always comes late provides an excuse and an insincere apology. The sympathy strategy. The person who plays the victim, but in reality loves the drama, the pain, and the attention. The insinuating doubt strategy. Someone, maybe even a friend, who makes an offhand remark that makes you question yourself and your abilities. You did quite well on the project for someone at your level. Was he or she subtly insulting me, you may be asking yourself? A key point of this strategy is to make you feel bad such that you find yourself thinking about it for days afterward. Their goal is to bring down your self-esteem. The most common reason for their actions is envy. It is best to show that their insinuations have no impact on you. Their goal is to get a reaction from you, and you will not give it to them. The blame shifter strategy. The person who is confronted and immediately begins shifting responsibility and blame back to the person who is irritated. They grow silent when you confront them, wearing a hurt or disappointed look, while their tone of voice subtly conveys a sense of disbelief that they did anything wrong. It leaves you feeling as if you may have overreacted, and now you feel guilty. The intention is to cover up the unpleasant behavior, deflect criticism, and make people refrain from calling them out on their mistakes in the future. This tactic can be countered if you remain objective and unaffected by their blame shifting. The passive tyrant strategy. The person who is impossible to please. Usually powerful people use this strategy towards their underlings, but it can be applied by individuals in relationships as well. Strategizing against these types is very difficult because they are usually your superiors and possess real power over you. There's really only one counter: quitting and recovering. Controlled aggression. Your aggression should not be repressed or turned inward. Channel this energy towards real problems that you can solve and towards your ambitions to get what you want. Law 17. The Law of Generational Myopia. Seize the historical moment. You are a product of the times as much as anyone. The generation you were born into has shaped your thoughts and values. whether you're aware of this or not. In more ways than you can imagine, you were born into a generation that defines your identity. There is a strong desire in your generation to separate itself from the previous generation and forge a new direction in the world. New values are formed, which are absorbed into your thinking as an individual. With age, generational ideas and values tend to close you off to other points of view, limiting your thinking. In order to free yourself from the mental restriction placed on you by your generation, you must understand as deeply as possible this powerful influence on who you are. The generational phenomenon. Each generation has its own symbols, myths, beliefs, and mindsets, which constitute its generational spirit. A person born in the 1890s would be a different person from someone born in the 1950s. And a person born in the 1950s would have a different generational spirit from a person born in the 1990s. Generational patterns. Each generation inherits beliefs and ideas from their parents, but seeks to find something new. The 14th century historian Ibn Khaldun believed that history occurs in cycles over 4 generations. The first generation. Revolutionaries make a radical break to establish new values. The second generation seeks to establish some order and discipline after the revolutionary chaos. The third generation aims to build a comfortable life through pragmatic means. And the fourth generation are cynical and lost in a society that has stagnated. New revolutionaries are now primed to usher in the new order, and the cycle begins again. You need to change the way you look at your own generation. You should attempt to understand how deeply the spirit and the culture of your generation have affected the way you view the world. Identify the characteristics of your generation in order to gain an understanding of its spirit in the present and to exploit it. Think about where your generation fits within the tension between early and middle adulthood. We think we are judging the younger generation in an objective manner, but we are merely succumbing to the illusion of perspective. How you can capitalize on the spirit of the times. The following are some strategies to make the most of generational dynamics. Challenge your past, including your parents' values, and try to see things from a different perspective. Take on the generational zeitgeist in a unique way. Don't let your age limit your curiosity. You can be a childlike wanderer as a grown-up. Increase your interactions with the younger generation. Read the works of previous generations. Influence the younger generation, mostly your children, to shape the future. Lore 18. The Law of Death Denial. Meditate on our common mortality. By connecting to the reality of death, we connect more profoundly to the reality and fullness of life. Near-death experiences actually have a paradoxical effect that makes us feel more alive and awake. You can make your life more meaningful and productive by being aware of your mortality. Become viscerally aware of death. Take a moment to reflect on death. Visualize yourself at the moment you die, and try to picture what you are doing or where you might be at that time. Remember that your remaining years on this planet are a deadline for completing some sort of life project. While you still have time, work on what matters most to you, including your relationships and your goals. Observe mortality. Consider the billions of people who have come before you, and realize that most of the people on Earth now will no longer be alive in the next 60 years. We are all part of the brotherhood and sisterhood of death. Embracing death will make it easier to cope with all other pain and hardships in your life. Adversity is an opportunity to grow and enlighten yourself. Take time to contemplate the sublime. The infinity of time and space makes our daily struggles seem trivial. Faced with the vastness of nature, our ego seems insignificant. Being aware of your mortality will free you of any insignificant worries. It will allow you to concentrate solely on your life's work and will help you to explore every possibility to the fullest.